Welcome to the Fight Lab. Here's everything you need to know about Elite Creatine Monohydrate from Fight Lab Fitness. How much you should take, why you should take it, and what it does. First off, creatine monohydrate is one of the most widely researched supplements on the market. Quick PubMed search yields almost 3,000 results for clinical publications on the subject alone. First of all, ton of benefits for creatine in the body. It improves strength, muscle mass, power, speed, bursts of power, helps you tolerate more intense activity, reduces the frequency of cramps and injuries. It helps with recovery by reducing muscle damage and promoting faster recovery of lost force production potential. And then, of course, for our combat sport athletes, it can improve short-term memory and protect against traumatic brain injury, which is a huge one. Now, how do we get creatine normally? Well, the body produces about a gram of it every day, but we need a lot more than a gram every single day to saturate our muscles. It's also found in foods like red meat, go figure, muscles of other animals, but you have to eat a ton of it to get enough. You'd have to eat just over a kilogram of salmon to get 5 grams of creatine, same with other meats. So how do we get the rest? We supplement. Now, lastly, all of the downsides to taking creatine that people talk about on the internet, kidney damage, weight gain, hair loss, that it's only for bodybuilders, that it retains a lot of water weight, it bloats you, all that kind of stuff. They've all been debunked in multiple studies. So what is creatine? How does it work in our body? Well, this is the Krebs cycle. So the mitochondria inside your cells produce energy for you, and they do it using this molecule right here, an ATP molecule. It stands for adenosine triphosphate. What happens is your mitochondria can make 30 to 35 of these things, 36, every 3 minutes or so. And we burn off one of the phosphates to turn it into ADP, adenosine diphosphate. And then it goes back in and starts all over again. Well, when you're doing intense activity, athletic performance, you burn all these up and you don't have time to make more. 3 minutes is a long time when it comes to athletic competition. So creatine is stored in your muscles as phosphocreatine, and the ADP can take a phosphate from it. So essentially you can use every ATP twice if you've got enough creatine in your muscles to utilize it. Now, how much creatine do you actually need in your body? Well, there's lots of calculators online that you can use. I particularly like any ones that allow you to estimate your body fat percentage. And then this particular one has some images of what different body fat percentages look like, because creatine, as I said, is stored in your muscles. So if a calculator online just takes into account your weight and not your muscle content, then it's probably not as accurate as one that asks you your body fat percentage. Again, it's just an estimate. You're going to need somewhere around 10 to 20 total grams of creatine per day to saturate your muscles, and you're only getting somewhere around 5 to maybe 10 at the most if you eat a lot of meat in your diet alone. So now let's look at the studies. This particular one is a systematic review on upper limb strength from the Journal of Sports Medicine. And this systematic review is basically an aggregation of all randomized clinical trials put together. They look at the relevant data, and this is the compilation of all of that. So in this particular systematic review, they took 53 studies, 563 individuals, and they found that the effect size for their bench press and their chest press, once they started taking creatine, was significant. That 0.677 is a very high effect size. That means in the real world, people lift more when they take creatine. So they had a bunch of other measures there as well, but basically the conclusion is that supplementation is effective, independent of all other characteristics and protocols. Next up, we have another systematic review on the effects of creatine supplementation on cognitive function, and this is from the Journal of Frontiers in Nutrition. And this one analyzed 16 different randomized clinical trials, 492 patients. They were all adults, at least 20 years of age, but they had both healthy and specific disease state patients. And what did they find with this one was that creatine actually, supplementation showed significant positive impacts on their memory, their attention time, and specifically for combat sports athletes, it improved their processing speed time. So anytime you're doing quick movements and you need to process things quickly, creatine really, really helps with that. What they found specifically with the diseased patients was that they had a higher benefit if they had specific mental cognitive disorders, and they also found that females had a more positive effect than males when they supplement with creatine. So the conclusion here was that evidence suggests that creatine supplementation may confer beneficial effects on cognitive function in adults. Okay, next up, and probably most important for combat sports athletes, we're going to take a systematic review of mitigating traumatic brain injury. And this is a review that starts out in the introduction by saying that evidence suggests that creatine monohydrate and omega-3 fatty acids help decrease inflammation, reduce neural damage, and maintain adequate energy supply to the brain and the skeletal muscle. We're going to fly all the way down here 2, where it talks about creatine monohydrate as a supplement and talks about why it may work, it says its most notable function in the body is to maintain adequate levels of ATP in tissues that have high and fluctuating energy demands, such as muscle and the brain. What happens when we have a traumatic brain injury? We have a reduction in blood flow and therefore oxygen in the brain. So creatine can provide ATP to the brain during periods of low oxygen following a head injury. So that's the mechanism. And then when we talk about experimental models, preemptive supplementation in rats reduced the damage following a traumatic brain injury by 36 to 50%. Additionally, when we're talking about an injury with humans starting from 4 hours from the time of injury and for a duration of 6 months, daily creatine dose of 0.4 grams per kilogram of body weight was found to improve on several TBI-related parameters compared to placebo, such as duration of amnesia, intubation, stay in ICUs, disability, ultimate recovery, and also subjective measures as well. And there was no evidence of any toxicity or negative harmful side effects from taking extra creatine. So as you can see, this is massive, massive benefits. They would say that based on these results, oral doses of 20 grams distributed across the day in 5-gram doses is likely to be the optimal supplementation strategy. So in summary, we clearly can tell that we're not getting enough creatine in our daily diets. We also know that to maximize the storage of creatine in our muscles means we will better utilize the energy that we have for short bursts of physical activity. We will increase our muscle strength. We will better cognition, better reaction time, and we will recover faster from our workouts. So every single one of us should be supplementing with at least 5, possibly 10 or more grams of creatine in addition to their diets daily. Level up your performance with Fight Lab Fitness. Unleash the warrior within.